you see the email I sent this afternoon? I know I said you were out of the office.
No.
The Danvers Public Square version of what happened up at Connor's Farm.
Oh.
It's interesting, very interesting. Got a copy here, passing it around.
Oh, really? Everyone should have a copy of the agenda. It was all sent to you.
Okay. I always pull it up on my computer, so.
That's what I mean, yeah. Hold on a second. Wait.
Here, I'll bring it up.
Where I belong.
Okay.
You were way too kind. I would use more like despicable.
Are there any agenda copies? Surplus?
Thank you so much.
Hi, Rob.
Don't say that.
I don't know, Mike.
Oh.
Okay, good evening, Danvers. This is our November 21st regularly scheduled meeting for the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. I'd like to welcome everyone here. We do have two new appointments on our committee. I'd like to mention Sarah Goodale O'Brien on the far right, and Isaiah Young, who is expected here. They were both approved Tuesday night at the Select Board meeting. I had the privilege of speaking with both of them extensively. Jasmine had the same privilege to some extent. And then I also talked with Mr. Bartha, and I also talked with Mr. Rodney Conley about these nominations. And I talked to various members of the Select Board also Tuesday night. So they were both voted in unanimously with no dissensions at all. And not many real questions other than wanting to know about your backgrounds and things like that. So with that, we'll move on. Mr. Graham will read the native land acknowledgement.
In keeping with our values of equity and inclusion, and to support those who experience marginalization, this evening's meeting will begin with the Native American land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this meeting is taking place in the ancestral homelands of the Naumkeag and Agawam peoples. Historical evidence shows that the Naumkeag and Agawam were peaceful in their relationship with European settlers. However, their population depleted rapidly due to smallpox and other pandemic Old World diseases unknowingly introduced by the earlier European coast colonizers to the East Coast. To honor the Naumkeag and Agawam communities, along with many other indigenous peoples who inhabit these lands now known as Danvers, Mass., and who may be lost to history, let us take a moment to recognize the past, present, and future of indigenous peoples and reflect on our roles within settler colonialism. We acknowledge these ancestral grounds we have collectively gathered upon and support the resilience and strength that indigenous peoples have shown worldwide.
Next up on the agenda is the approval of the October 17th minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
A second, please. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on. Citizens' queries. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Okay. Please name your name and your address, and whatever title you hold in town.
No titles.
Okay.
My name's Ellen Graham. I live in Precinct 4. I'm a lifelong Danvers resident. And my first time coming here for you guys, I've been involved in town for 30 people, I know Dave has talked about it a lot, but we have a Facebook page of a bunch of races from our community asking for the end of DEI. That's some sort of, they don't understand it's a philosophy. It's not something you can get rid of, something that's very important for all of us. I understand Jasmine's not with us anymore.
Correct.
I really hope we're gonna fill her position.
We're hoping to.
I think we really have to push forward and somehow be more proactive. Danvers has always been racist. It's not an easy thing to say or admit, but that's the reality. There was a point in time when we knew the racism was hidden. People knew enough that it's wrong and they should hide it. And for some reason, they're back out at it. They've been emboldened, and we need to call it out. And I think people tend to be a little bit too polite, and we're too concerned about, being the nice ones and, be careful how we say things around people. We can't do that with this racism and the bullying, and it has to stop. So I just want to see what I can do to support the town and how we can make this, obviously, I don't know how many people usually come to your meetings. I know town meetings are hard. If we have 10 people at a meeting, that's a lot. So I don't know how we can make this a little bit well known. As you know, I don't know if you know, there's actually a hit list of people they want to, volunteers, residents in this community who want to help. And there's people who want them out for some reason. What a hit list means, I don't know if that means, most of the people on the so-called list are actually appointed by town managers or the select board, so it's not an election kind of a thing necessarily. They do go after that as well, but it's very disconcerting. We don't have enough volunteers. So to be told there's a hit list, why would you want to volunteer? So we need to stand up and get people more involved. That's all I want to say.
Am I correct in, were you on the historic?
I was on preservation. I used to be on
Preservation.
preservation. I haven't been for a few years. I still
Okay, all right.
step back. I was a selectman 30 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. Is it 30? Maybe 25. I feel really old. It's not an easy job, and we were lucky enough to have a really good town manager and management team and group in town that was here for a long time. Unfortunately, as time goes by, people retire, things move on. We all like to. That's what I was trying to do, retire from town. Then you guys take over. But, when we slack off, this is what happens.
Thank you.
It has to be a constant.
Appreciate you
I
coming.
have
Thank you.
All right. I just want to say that some of us actually live this racism in this town. Some of us live and work here, and we have been fighting this fight for a very long time. We have not been slacking off. And as far as Jasmine goes, that's not something we have any say or power over. It's the town. If the town comes together and stands up and says this is what we need, we can do it. Because the 11 of us, 5 of us, 2 of us, whatever, our voices are never heard. We need people standing behind us. So when people come here and tell us,
Where do you want me? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean
Nope.
any disrespect.
no, none taken.
It's
I'm just saying, I'm glad
absolutely-
that you came out, and I wish more people would, because that's what we need. Because our voices are not being heard. We need more people backing us up. We've been saying this for a long time. One person does not a DEI team make. We need an entire team. Jasmine took care of the schools. She took care of the library. She took care of the entire town. She was one person. She handled the Accessibility Commission. She handled our HRIC Commission. She did a whole lot of things.
So we need
And
more,
we need a whole team.
right?
And we need people to speak up and say that we do.
Well,
And it's not just us.
I appreciate that, and
Yeah.
I agree, and I think now's the perfect time because we're hiring a town manager. And this should be a priority for whoever we hire, that we as a community want this. And how do we show it? I guess that would be the question. How do I show it?
You can make,
Where do I
you
go?
can
What
write
do I do?
letters, you can make phone calls, get more people to do that. If this
To
is
the
what the town,
selectmen,
to
or-
the select board, to the town manager.
All
If
right.
if they see this is what people need and want, we just need more people. We need those numbers.
Right.
So that's what you can do to help. If you can rally people to do that, yeah,
All right. I will do what I can.
thank you. And thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
I will say this, my understanding is that there will be no hiring. I believe hiring is frozen in the town until the town manager is selected, which makes sense.
Right.
However, that's not gonna take place until the springtime. And I believe, if you've watched the select board meetings, they're in the process right now of choosing one company to handle the interviews, the screening.
Job,
et cetera.
job search.
Yes, the job search. At that point, then, and I'm gonna try to get this correct, they'll submit a list of, I believe it was said Tuesday night, around 6. They're not finalists, but they're 6 candidates that the job search company has come up with. And then from that point on, the select board committee, and I'm not gonna mention whose name, because I might have it wrong, but there will be, I think, 3 from the select board that will review those 6, come up with 3, and then they will conduct interviews, obviously the select board, and they're also gonna have, I believe they're gonna have a committee that's gonna be part of that final screening. But during
They
this.
have a committee set up now already for looking
No,
at the town?
they haven't gone, I don't, and I'm gonna be,
Is that
I
just
wanna
the
be
town
cautious,
meeting?
because I don't wanna say something. I believe they're only at this point now where they're narrowing in on the company that's going to do the run the initial screening.
So, maybe in my experience, getting a head start and maybe trying to get people to the meetings
Well, here's what's gonna
about
happen.
the new town manager, because the company that hires the new town manager needs to know that we're looking
Oh,
for
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
who is for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right.
And if people are not in favor of diversity, equity, and inclusion, then those people are not the people we want to hire in this town.
Well, that's, I couldn't agree more with you, but that's something that has to be brought forward to the,
Well,
you'll have
the
an
community
opportunity.
has to tell people.
Let me just finish, you'll have an opportunity, there'll be open meetings before they even make the final decision.
Right.
So when they get, my understanding was that when they get to the final 3, all right, and then they will choose the final 3 at some point, and I thought I heard they would choose it in an open meeting, similar to what they did, I think, with the school committee, superintendent hiring. So
Right.
there's gonna be plenty of opportunity.
So how will this committee help to get people at those meetings? Like, how can we work together to try to get more people at those meetings? Because that's kind of ground zero for me.
Well, first of
The
all, we have
town
to,
management
once
has,
we
the
know what.
leadership
yeah.
has to be in there.
Yeah, we'll do what we can to make sure everyone that we can reach is aware of what's happening.
Right,
I
right.
mean, other than that, I'm not
That's
sure.
a lie. Well, I guess we need a town crier. We have to figure out a way to rally the troops, for sure.
And we can start now. We don't have to wait till
That's
those
why
3
I'm here.
candidates. Yeah.
That's why I'm
Yes.
here. I think you gotta start early, because
Yeah.
it's a major problem, I see.
And I'll
I know
just,
you guys have seen it a lot sooner than I have. I'm a little slow to the party.
well, I mean,
Just a second now, through the chairman, please. Go right here.
thank you. Thank you for coming. I want to say you're not slow to the party because you gave testimony to the fact that you have grown up here and that you have seen things for years. And that is an important testimony. And the fact that you're bringing that this evening is really critical. And while you can look back, it's also clear that you're wanting to actually move forward. So I appreciate that as someone who is newer to town, right, and now calls it
Yeah.
home. I just want to, Paul, you didn't say this explicitly, but just to be clear that along with the select board members who are part of the kind of appointed to be part of this search once the company is secured, is my understanding is that there will also be community members that are a part of that search committee.
That's correct.
So that's sort of a question I've been asking and trying to find out how those folks will be selected. So,
I think it'd be appropriate for somebody on your board to be selected, to be honest.
yes, or yes, and right.
The selectmen.
Well, I think what I will also then say back, it's Ella, yes?
Yeah, Ellen.
Ellen, thank you. What I will also say back is that the work that is represented by this committee is the work of also people such as yourself, right? So maybe one of us serves on that committee and maybe Ellen serves on that committee, right? Or maybe, you know, a lot of other people that we know, So I understand, like, a lot of times we will be requested to do things, but it can't just be us. And it's not about sheer time and capacity. It's that if we're the ones that are always showing up and doing things, then the rest of the community doesn't know how you feel.
Agreed.
So you're
I don't
here,
feel-
and that's
I
fantastic.
don't have the same understanding as other people on your committee who live it more than I do.
Yeah,
So
thank you
that
for
would be more appropriate.
seeing that, yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ellen, hang on a second, Ellen. Mr. Chairman, through you. Ellen, I want to thank you for coming in, and I also want to thank you for having the intestinal fortitude to stay on that site and try to stand up for what's right. And I know you're getting your head handed to you, same as I did for the last couple of years. It's not fun out there.
They can't affect us because we don't believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
They don't really affect me. I walk away from them without any issues. But if we don't watch it, we don't know.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's why I go on that silly page.
And I think one of the things that's going to be important, I think we need to educate people about what DEI actually means.
Yes.
There seems to be a lot of misinterpretation, especially if it's on that site, so I assume a lot of the public probably has the same concerns. What does it actually mean? Does it mean everybody gets a trophy?
Yeah. It's
Does
a
it
talking
mean
point.
that you're hiring only minorities? Or that minorities get rights over everybody else? I don't think that's what it means, but I think we need to educate people about what it does mean
Well,
and explain why it's important for all of us.
Unfortunately, they are using it as a talking point.
Yep.
They have these, and I haven't figured them all out. They have special hand signals that I saw while holding signs down at voting. They have special handshakes. They have special words they use. DEI means like you know, they're getting hiring. They're getting something special. It's not a philosophy. They use this
Yeah.
to scare people, and then they brand it. They're like
Yeah.
marketers. It's sickening,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
I'd like to ask the committee if, normally, we would move on, but it's not on the agenda. So I want to try to stay with the agenda, but I do want to make sure that everybody has a brief opportunity, if they feel free to speak on this. Normally, we wouldn't do this in a regular setting, but we are, because we're in an open participation point. Dave, what's the word for it?
Public comment?
Public comment, yeah. We would hold our comments until after any, and I do have another volunteer. So I would like to hold any more comments until we hear from Alphonse Wright from Salem.
Yes. Alphonse Wright, Salem. I am the, one of the Salem counterparts of this board. I chair the Human Rights Coalition there. Thank you very much for speaking up. One of the things, I wasn't actually speaking until you come up here, and that's good, that's good. One of the things you can do to get the word out there that this is a priority is you shouldn't do it yourself. You find other communities, other groups, get people that are active in those groups excited about the idea, and they will do your marketing. In Salem, we had a listening event, was it the 12th? We're there. The way we get, because people are scared right now for reasons. And we wanted people in the community to know that we, as a administration of the city, were behind them. And so we gave them a chance, unrecorded, no photos, nothing, just very candid. What are your fears? And Lieutenant Sullivan was there, and he commented, how did we get so many people there? That's how. I got the groups that might be interested, found representatives from those groups that, whether they're community leaders or people just listen to them, got them excited about it. They spread the word. They did the footwork. They did the heavy lifting. And I think that's what you need to do here in Danvers, is to find people that, of a like mind, buy barrel by the ink, by ink by barrel, sorry. They don't mind spreading the word. In fact, that's what they do, that's what they enjoy, that they're the town criers. Find them, get them excited about it, have them spread the word, and they will rally more people in their circles than you could possibly do just from the chairs here. So that's all I'm saying. Thanks.
Thank you, Alphonse.
I have to go to one.
Bill?
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the validation and the direction, and for those who want to take up the torch, honestly, as everyone has said, we appreciate the help, and it's much needed. So I think the conversation will continue, but we thank you for what you've already presented that you were willing to do.
Sarah? First
My
time.
first meeting, so I'm trying not to talk too much, but I think that you really hit the nail on the head with the integration and the opening a conversation amongst multiple groups, and I think that's something that I would hope to be a part of. And I think there's so many ways to do that without directly addressing something, right? Welcoming people in over a common interest and having a discussion around something that's meaningful to the community, perhaps without necessarily addressing something that we are hoping to, but you get there implicitly, right? So thank you for bringing that up. Good plans happening.
Bill?
Yeah.
Mr. Grant?
No.
Mr. Young?
I couldn't agree more on the intercommunity aspect of it. I think getting involved, I don't want to go I have so much to say, but I think the intercommunity aspect of it is key and central to any organization so yeah.
Jorge?
I just want to thank you both for being here, and I don't know, just making me feel like I'm not so alone in the way I feel or think. I know, but
Feels like.
it feels like it. Yeah. I mean, except for my compatriots here.
Okay.
Just one thing.
Shilpa.
Ellen, next time bring some friends.
I'll try. It's rainy out there today.
All right, I think we can move on to the next item, which is liaison. We don't really have liaison updates scheduled this week, but I wanted this month, but I wanted to put it in anyway because I know Rob was going to be here, and he has something that he wants to give us.
A couple items, Mr. Chairman. I had hoped to give the committee an update on the investigation involving Ducky. It is still, at this point, an active and ongoing investigation. So we had really hoped to have something to report by now. But I can assure you, I've spoken with the investigators. I've spoken with Chief Lovell and Captain Sanborn, and I am familiar with the assistant district attorneys that are handling the case. And when I say active and ongoing, I don't mean it's in a pile of papers waiting for someone to do something. It is actively being worked on each and every day. I had a discussion with the chief the other day, and both he and I understand the community's desire to know what's going on for a couple of different reasons. One, they want to know it's taken seriously, that we're doing the appropriate things when bad things do happen. Also, there's a sense of, do I feel safe in my community? They want to know, what we're doing to stop these things. So we do recognize that releasing information is part of that to the community, so we have that responsibility to you all. But above that, we have an even greater responsibility to Ducky and his family. And if we were to say or do the wrong thing, it could potentially lead to evidence being suppressed. It could lead to cases being dismissed. So while we don't always win at court, if we lose because of something we did wrong, I don't know how we would face Ducky and his family. So for those reasons, I ask you to be patient a little bit longer. And as soon as we can tell the community something, we will. My understanding is once this is final, the first conversation will be with Ducky and his mom. After that, the district attorney's office and the police department will be putting out public statements. Mr. Chairman, if you prefer, I could pause there if there's any questions or comments before I move on.
I have one question. So, I know one youngster was identified. We weren't interested in the name, but we know one, I think that came out pretty clear that there was one youngster. Have any other youngsters been identified? We don't want to know names, but we're just wondering, is that part of the ongoing investigation still?
Identifying witnesses as well as suspects are part of
You're still there?
investigation.
Okay. Go ahead, continue, please. Oh, one other thing I want, this is not part of, at this point in the agenda, there's no audience participation. From the point where we finish with, inquiries, when we move into the agenda, which was the liaison point of it, then we're on exclusively. Okay. Go ahead.
There was an incident that I need to report that occurred yesterday in town at about 1:45 in the afternoon. A loss prevention associate of one of our local stores had called for police assistance for 3 shoplifters that were in their establishment. The shoplifters had made their way out into the parking lot, and the police officers who were arriving encountered them there. There's nothing negative as far as the police interaction, but what happened while the officers were on scene is that a unknown person from an unknown source broadcast across our radio system. They specifically said, "Everybody say," and the N-word, but they actually said the N-word, while the police officers were engaged with 3 black females, or the suspects that they were speaking to. We already know that it is not a radio device that's owned or operated by the town of Danvers, so any of our radios, whether there are handheld radios, like the one that I have, or our cruiser radios, each of them have embedded in them a number, and then they're nowadays they're digital, so mine, like, it doesn't just show the number, it shows it's me. All of the cruisers do the same thing. The cruisers aren't assigned to individuals, so it just has the cruiser number. We have radios that the Park Service uses. Some of the offices, like DPW, might have one just in case they needed to call for help. The parking clerk, but all of those radios that we own and operate would provide an ID signal. So it's not a radio from within the town. We do not have, like some federal agencies and military agencies, our radio system is not a secure system, it's not encrypted. You can stream it online and listen to it, and if you had a radio that was capable of broadcasting, a lot of people have scanners. Scanners tend to just listen to things. But if you happen to have a radio and you have our frequency programmed into it, you could broadcast on our frequency. And in that case, it would not have any information over who was sending that transmission. We reported the incident to the FCC and reached out to some of the agencies in the area to find out, is there a way to track down who this is? The way it's not like a computer crime where you pay a bill, your IP address, we can subpoena that and track that back. This is just something as simple as Radio Shack equipment sending that information out. But I wanted to make everybody aware of that occurred yesterday.
Any questions on Lieutenant Sullivan's report? Karen?
Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I recognize that what you've just shared could be a real rabbit hole of conversation, so I'm going to keep this brief. Could you just clarify, there is somebody listening in, anybody could, it sounds like it's pretty easy to tune into the frequency. So the sort of off-force comment that was made, the language that was used, how might that language, it seems like it was not a coincidence that that language was used at the time that this was happening outside in the parking lot. So I'm just wondering, do you have a sense, do you have a sense of like how that happened? Was somebody listening in? Would it have been, they would have heard kind of a call to the store and those who were being called for were being sort of described in a certain way? I'm just curious how, I mean, initially until you said, oh, everybody's got this frequency, I was like, gosh, you know, are people tailing the police in town and then somehow hacking into your system? But it seems like it's slightly more fluid than that. So do you have a sense of how that would have happened?
Sure. So it would appear that, and if I didn't mention, it was a female's voice that was heard over the radio, and it didn't sound like, you know how some of those robo threats or robocalls, it sounded not a human talking. It sounded like it was a person, a female that was talking over the radio system. So it really does appear that it was a person who was listening to us. And there's multiple ways you can, like a handheld scanner can listen to us. There's, I think the We Are Danvers, people get a lot of their news from that source there. They have a link. You can listen, you can stream it on your computer nowadays. So it sounds like they were reacting to the women that we were working with at that time, specifically targeting them.
No, that was without question. I was just curious how they might have, Okay, thank you.
Definitely listening, and I would also imagine nowadays that at one point in time you would need a physical radio to broadcast. I would imagine there are computers now that you could be sitting at home with a microphone, and just like a radio, you could broadcast, and it's not just our frequency, it's the PBD Police has a frequency, Salem Police, they're just a set of numbers assigned by the FCC. That one happens to be assigned to us. Anybody, because they're not secure and encrypted, anybody can listen to them, and it also means technically anybody could broadcast on them. Like I could be on the wrong channel. I could broadcast my radio over Salem Police's network if I happen to switch on the wrong channel. So somebody looking to do that could easily broadcast on our radio system.
Just feel like you opened a whole new Wild West in my backyard, so a lot to think about. Thank you.
Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see all kinds of potential disastrous problems with something like this. And it's not just someone yelling the N-word over the air. Someone could say, there's a machine gun going off over in West Danvers, and all the crews go over there, and someone pulls a bank robbery in East Danvers or something. No, there's no police around. Or someone could get shot because they've been identified as having a gun by someone on the air like this. This is dangerous. I see a real potential problem some real potential problems with it. I hope we can find a solution soon.
Okay. Anything else? Isaiah?
Is this like preventable at all? Can like the FCC do anything, or is it just as possible as the first time?
It's just how the radio system works.
Okay.
There is no way to allow or prevent any
Okay.
number of radios from broadcasting. It's been several years. We had a similar incident in the past. It didn't deal with anybody that we were actually working with or race. And a person just throughout the entire day just kept dropping F-bombs in the radio randomly. And it started, it went on for a while. I believe one of my now retired colleagues was yelling back at them over the radio to try and get them to stop. It went on for the whole day. It stopped and it never occurred again. So it's not unheard of.
All set? No, we're past that point. Treasurer's report. You didn't get the agenda?
I did get the agenda, and I saw that
missed
on
that
there,
one,
and I'm wondering what exactly I'm supposed to report.
Nothing.
Nothing,
You don't have
okay.
to worry. Just-
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
I have something to report, okay. Next Gen is somewhere on our list here. I'm gonna jump down a little bit to that. Isaiah, you want to update us on date changes, et cetera? And I can
Yes.
add a little bit from my talks with Janelle.
Do I go there?
No, you stay right there.
Okay.
You got it, Mike, there.
Hit the big time there, young man.
Hello, everyone. I'm pleased to announce our Next Gen updates over the past few weeks. We've engaged in over 20 hours of self-development work, and I've prepared for the third retreat on December 17th to Washington, D.C. We would love for any of you to join us if you'd like. Of course, the invitation's still open. We've been meeting regularly with the students every Tuesday at 6 at the high school, and so far it's been going really well. We've had a way more turnout than the previous years. I'd say we have additional 10 or so kids, and that's great. The info we're getting from the kids is really interesting so far, and we've started even developing. Last year our first year in Next Gen we made 1 game. Our second year in Next Gen we made 2 games, and so far we've already started to develop 1, and so we plan on getting out more than 2 this year, and focusing on revitalizing the last 2 with new game manuals and new game boards so that they can be used throughout the schools. Next Gen is also engaged in the conversation with the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism, founded by the Kraft family, and we'll be taking to the trip there in January. We'd love for the HRC to join us then also. I'll update you guys more on that probably by around December's meeting. I believe that's everything. Thank you.
Thank
I have received invoices from Janelle regarding the flights, so that Friends of Danvers Diversity will cover that expense easily. And I want to report back that we covered that request for $1,500 through private donations. It didn't have to come out of the existing Friends Fund. And what we ended up doing was putting the donations into the Friends Fund.
Okay.
We did what we were asked to do, and we're in good shape with that. All right, now, Shilpa, you're up next with Boston Bridges, if you have anything that you want to report.
So Boston Bridges is a grant that Kristen had applied for last year for the Black Excellence Party that we did. It is a $5,000 grant with Boston Bridges. There is a form that we have to fill out and an interview that's involved. I know she submitted that form in early January this year. So if we want to do the same thing, we need to figure out what event we're submitting the form for, who is going to submit it, and who will appear for the interview. So there's a lot to discuss.
That's why we're
With
going to
that.
have a meeting.
Yep.
Okay. That's fine. That's more information than I knew, and I appreciate that. All right, so you and I will move forward with that.
Okay.
Not just for the time being, but I do want to think that we will want to get that in immediately after January 1st.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I believe they operate on a fiscal year, and I'm not sure what that fiscal year is, whether it's calendar year or
Whether
June.
it's the financial year
June,
from June. Yeah.
July 1st, yeah. So we'll move right on that, okay? Because
Okay.
I'm really concerned about getting our name in on that. I think the last time we were here, I discussed the menorah lighting, and I think I gave everyone the date. Right now, it's June 30th, sure, December 30th. Right? A little different timing because the calendar really jumped this year. Last year, it was sort of around December 11th. So and I met with the rabbi.
You said the 30th?
Yes.
Wow.
Right, and I believe, I'm probably off a day or two, but their celebration will starts around Christmas Day, the 25th.
It's the night of the 25th.
Yeah, and it really sort of ends, isn't it, around January 1st or something? So they're really, the dates are, and when we had a chance for a couple of days, like Christmas Day, I didn't think we'd want to do that, so I took the 30th. That was about the best day we had available at the time. It'll be 6 o'clock at Danvers Square. I will appear before the board, select board, at their next meeting, just to update them on that. I've talked to the town manager, assistant town manager. I've already had a conversation with Rob. We're going to coordinate working on getting the fire and the police there for that particular time. I think, I don't know, Rob, someone told me, I think it was at a meeting, that the fire wants to move the hook and ladder truck, or maybe it was you, right? Yeah, go ahead. You can continue that conversation.
So for the, I'm saying around Geltrop?
Yeah, the Geltrop, yeah.
Here, the tower truck was kind of parked out on Maple Street in the parking spaces. And we had some cones out, but traffic was still going through the square. So what we noticed was when they did that activity, the kids are kind of running around right next to traffic. So we prefer this year if we just put the fire truck in the parking spaces that are in front of CVS and the pizza shop. We can close that lot completely. We'll put the fire truck in there. We can point them out in case they have to go somewhere. They can easily get out. And that whole area will be contained, so nobody has to run around with traffic. And it's also might give a little more visibility. I think the event happened behind the fire truck, and it's a pretty large truck. So people driving by, sure they knew something was going on, but they couldn't get a good view. So with the truck on the other side, maybe we'll get more people to pull over and stop.
And we will meet when it's appropriate. So, any questions? Okay, moving on. Scholarship update, Dr. Desmond.
Excuse me. Thank you. I said that I was going to help facilitate a conversation with regards to what this committee might want to do to extend, to broaden, to amplify the work that is generally associated with the scholarship. And my thinking about that was that the scholarship is, to a certain extent, a kind of capstone activity that's supported by the committee, and it really comes at the end of the school year. It recognizes and rewards a student on graduation for the next phase of their academic experiences. And I kind of raised the question of, was there something that we could do in addition to the scholarship that might reflect and support ongoing work that students are doing while in school, that's advancing and supporting the work that the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee is involved with. This is a function of two things. One is that something that might be interest of students and to the schools? And secondly, do we have the resources in order for that to happen? And I said I was going to facilitate a conversation about that. I have not done that yet, but I'm still sort of processing in my mind how these two things can support and augment each other, I think both of which are important. My concern was that students are doing things on an ongoing basis that are quite exemplary, quite important, quite significant, and sometimes they go under the radar and they're not seen. And it might be helpful for us to, one, recognize those events and lend support to them if it's possible for us to do that. And so I wasn't sure that I was going to be on the agenda today, but that's
you
perfectly
unfortunately
okay.
didn't get the agenda.
I didn't. That's quite all right. I could have called and asked earlier.
Yeah.
But still, I do think that, particularly in the times that we're in right now, that it's helpful for us to just think about what can we do that recognizes the important things that students are doing on a day-to-day basis that are so important to issues that are fundamental to the work of the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. And I think if that were to be recognized by this committee, that would be something that the students would appreciate. And I think the schools and other students students engaged in those efforts would appreciate that. So it's still on the agenda. we'll continue to work on it, and as it develops, I can provide more feedback to the broader community and to the public at large.
Thank you, Dr. Desmond. Question, Sarah? You have to learn a lesson when you're on one of these committees. Don't sit in the end seats. That's the first place the chairman look.
I just have a question. I wonder if you had considered grant opportunities for teachers, because inevitably teachers can support their students with these endeavors. And I wonder if that would be a good avenue into supporting teachers who believe very deeply in inclusionary practices, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and supporting that initiative, and then through that, really bringing to light the work students are doing. So just
Yeah,
a
that's an
thought.
absolutely wonderful suggestion, and again, I think that those are the kinds of ideas that we need to surface, because I think a lot of things that, students don't do these things by themselves, quite frankly, and there's always encouragement and support that's happening at the school, and I think involving teachers in that discussion as well is important. And I want to emphasize again that this is a question that comes to a certain extent comes down to resources. I think that this committee could support so many wonderful things by just simply saying that we're open to hear suggestions and ideas. And so, yeah, I think that, that's one of the things we have to talk about when we're not in a session such as the one we're having right now. But I think that we should involve as many people as who are interested in advancing issues like this and advancing ideas and seeing how we can make them happen. And certainly, teachers are the heart of the school, so we certainly want to support them.
Thank you.
Karen? All set?
I'm all set.
All set?
I will just say that the conversation started with really the next gen seeking support from us for, well, we knew about their trip to Alabama, but I don't think that we had any financial interest in that. And then their trip to Washington, D.C. to the African American Museum. And now they're going to be supported by another organization for the anti-Semitism training that you guys will be undergoing. So that's where the conversation started. So definitely, if there's a need from other parties, we just haven't heard about it, but we're open to it. And then also trying to consider possible fundraising efforts, because we really are not an organization that has a lot of funding. So we have the heart for it, but finding another way to receive the funds as well. Thank you.
Yes. Joe,
Well, all set.
Bill? Bill? Anything? Isaiah?
Nothing.
Jorge, all set?
Nothing further.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Two thoughts crossed my mind a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, when we started expanding this a little bit. And one question was, are we still going to stay with Danvers High School exclusively? Or I thought we talked also about maybe expanding to someone who might be in college and could financially use some help. It may not be, I've heard comments like, well, college could be free. Well, I'm not so sure it's ever free. There's a point you have to do other things too. Just might make it a little easier and wouldn't have to hold down 2 jobs while going to school or something like that. So that was one thing. Will we exclusively be involved with Danvers High School, or are we going to be flexible? Because right now we're talking about teachers, and then when you talk about teachers, I think you also have to talk about programs. So there might be a program that we would want to maybe, could be teachers coming in before the year starts, and I'm not sure of the term. You would know it.
Professional development.
My wife's going to kill me when I get home. Okay, so, but that type of thing.
Yeah, I think we should keep an open mind
Right.
as to just innovative and creative ideas that may surface.
Right.
And I think this is where we have to just sort of make in our own minds to see whether or not does the HRIC have the resources to be able to have an open funding
Right.
program.
We can do
Just
it
to
1
say,
year
yeah.
this way. Next year, we can do it something else. But
Exactly.
my own feeling is, I don't want to be tied to any one group, organization. It's a program we want to take on, and it can be very flexible. Yes.
It just occurs to me as I hear Dr. Desmond speak about this, and as you spoke about it at the last month's meeting, that there may be some opportunities for exposure and amplification and kind of resourcing beyond money, and simply also connecting with these students and teachers, and it kind of gets back to some of what Ellen was talking about earlier, right? Like this community connection. So I think this all began and was rooted in the fact that we've been giving scholarship assistance. But I think we shouldn't limit ourselves there, and I have a feeling that that's in part where Dr. Desmond is going, and so I'm really excited about the part of this that is non-monetary, but is also about connecting in the community, and just really pouring into these young people in a way that they more fully deserve, but their teachers and are they're doing it, but we can do more as a community as well.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Yes, sure.
Just going off of that a little bit also, and looking at a broader picture of schools in general and how we can hold people accountable in having more diversity within our teachers and the kind of trainings they do, cultural competence, cultural humility, in really creating a space where the students feel welcome and heard, and that's something they don't have. So that would be an advocacy aspect as well in pushing for something like that within the schools. Is that something that there's scope for, or no?
Well, I think under the umbrella of HRIC, it's a question of just simply surfacing ideas and getting those ideas out into the light of day and having some discussion about what it is that we would like to do. I mean, that's why I'm saying I'm a longtime supporter of the importance of the scholarship that we do. I think it's a great capstone activity, and it rewards ongoing work of students over their academic career. But there are other things that also go on that really happen under the
Radar.
in the darkness, and that we don't know about them. And there could be many ways that we may be able to support them, or give voice to them, or ask others to get involved to see how they might come to the table to assist. I think there's a lot of people in this community that would be delighted and happy to have the opportunity to do that if we surface those things. So, yeah, I mean, I think we should keep an absolutely open mind, because we're still in the infancy of HRIC. There's many, many, many further dimensions of our work that could take place in this community, as we heard today. I mean, in our initial public presentation, there are citizens who are very much committed to this work, who would be happy to be involved, would be happy to do things, and they're just looking for the opportunity to do that, or the invitation to do those things, which is what I think we're fully capable of doing.
Mr. Chairman, could I just add in, I was remiss in not reading this at last month's meeting, or maybe even 2 months ago, but I have here a thank you note from Julian Joseph, who is one of our recipients last spring, and he very kindly dropped this off at my house before he left for college, and it reads, "Dear Danvers Committee for Human Rights and Inclusion, thank you so much for awarding me a scholarship. I am very grateful and honored to be considered for such an esteemed award. The work you all do for Danvers is so incredibly valuable and has widespread effects that cannot be overstated. Your community significance furthers my appreciation for such a recognition. As I attend Nova Southeastern in the fall, it's in Southern Florida, I hope to pursue opportunities like the ones you offer to make a similarly positive influence. Thank you so much again. I sincerely appreciate it. Julian Joseph."
Isn't that nice?
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you for reading that.
Does anyone else have anything to say about the scholarship update? I'm all set with it. I think we have to move forward with it, and like everything else, I'm not concerned, I'm enthusiastic about the possibility that we might be able to help ourselves with some fundraising of our own. But we'll work on that. I'm gonna jump from Crisis Response Committee, because there is no Crisis Response Committee, but I'm gonna propose one at one point. All right, so we're gonna move to Native American plaque. Dave, put your name down, because we had talked about this.
Yeah, we have.
And wondered if there's anything you can do to help us get started on it.
I've been thinking about it, haven't had a chance to really get involved in looking into it too much yet, but I think we need to involve the Native American Awareness
Center.
Council. I think, I never remember the exact name.
MCNAA.
Yeah.
The Massachusetts Council for Native American Awareness.
That's right, correct, thank you. They got an office in Danvers down Hutchison Drive. And I think that if we're gonna do something like this, we should have some input from them. Figure out where we can put it. As I said, down where the Home for the Deaf is, where they're planning on expanding, there was known to be a Native American village on the hill behind where that building is when the English started settling in Danvers. So somewhere near there, maybe on 35, might be an appropriate location. I don't know. We've got some options, some things to think about, just how we handle it. This area of Danvers was called, and I hope I don't mangle the name, I probably will, Wakineshokok, which meant the place of birch trees. And, you know, they named their people, they took their own names and named the place they lived to describe it, not just named themselves after some old dead guy who's been dead for 4,000 years like we do. So there's a little bit more logic in it, I think. But, yeah, I think it's something that we owe to that part of our history. And the Historical Society is interested in participating in it.
Could you follow up on that, identifying with someone in the group that you just mentioned that has an office in Danvers?
Yes.
Would you do that?
Yeah, I will.
And then please get in touch with me, and then maybe we can arrange something between the two of us.
Yep.
I'd be more than happy to, sit down and chat about it and go from there, because between your historical and us, we'll be able to get something going there. Okay?
Okay,
I'll
sounds
wait for
good.
you to, okay. Thank you. Anybody else on that topic? Okay, now,
That's a great idea.
No?
Karen, did you?
Done lots of Native American work in Western Nebraska.
I'm sorry?
I did a lot of Native American work in Western Nebraska.
Okay.
I put down Crisis Response Committee, because we had talked about this a few months ago. We were thinking about making a response to comments that were made during the election period. At one point, I believe Donna had brought it up about the governor's election in North Carolina, and we never got to move on it. And as things go, and they move quickly, one day it's a topic, and then 3 days later there are 5 other topics that were in the news. So this is only my thought, and I'm throwing it before the committee. Is there any merit in developing a 2 or 3 person, for use of a better word, subcommittee that could be a quick response in the form of a letter if we felt it was important enough to get it out quickly to someone like the Salem News or whatever? Because we've never really done something like that. Once in a while, maybe we have responded over the years, but I think we should think about it, because I think it's important. Myself, I'm only speaking for myself now, but it's in my mind, an incident happens maybe in Danvers, or maybe in a surrounding area, or maybe in a different part of the state, or in a different part of the country, and we feel strong enough that we want to respond. But I feel you have to respond within, my feeling is 72 hours. After that, you've lost the news, you're done. Right? We could also partner with other groups, too. I have not spoken to, if she's watching this, she's going to hear about it tomorrow, the Accessibility Commission. We might have combined interest with them at times. And then if they were interested in getting involved with our quick response and a combined, it gives us a little bit more weight. Now, it doesn't have to be a 40-page,
Magnum
paper,
opus, yeah.
3, 4 paragraphs. And we get together, and I'm not so sure, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, step up and say something that we would necessarily have or want to have 11 members of the HRIC okay a 3-paragraph statement, that we would have some trust in those people, that we could get it out at some point quickly. All right, now, I'm just asking you to mull it over. If you have questions, think about it. If you want to discuss it further, fine. But I'm going to bring it back again next meeting anyway. So what are your thoughts, Isaiah?
I like your idea, and I've been taking a lot of notes. I'm a big thinker, and I have a lot of ideas just flow to me while I'm just in meetings, so I have a ton of ideas here. But the synopsis of them all is we need a better and a stronger social media presence, because with this, all of the problems that you guys are addressing are quickly solved, right? Advocacy, showing off what people are doing in our community and acknowledging them, we can do that. If we have 50, I'm just saying, if we had 50,000 people on social media or on Instagram, showing off the award nominees to these people in our community, that's really interesting. And but it also plays into the interconnectivity and intercommunity aspect of it, and it plays into that crisis response role also. And I don't mean this in conservatives taught me that your actions don't matter, it's how it's portrayed by the people. And our actions, I'm not saying don't matter, but we need to do a better job of getting it across what we're doing and getting the Danvers community to understand the good that we're trying to actually do in this community, and not the poor. We're not this crazy group of crazy people with the woke mind virus that are trying to eliminate, trying to get rid of them. We're here to help you and help everyone. That's our goal. And it builds community through that. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I think you do know.
Well said.
Yes,
Chairman,
Sue.
may I?
Yes.
Isaiah, that is a fantastic idea. Unfortunately, the HRIC is not allowed to have its own social media. We've been asking for this for some time,
Okay.
which I don't know that's an obstacle how we overcome, but yeah, that would be helpful. Paul, to your point, I want to say, yes, it would be great for us to put out statements on various things, but we also need to understand what is the purpose of why we're putting out statements. Are we doing it so that people in our community know that they have support and they feel like they belong? Because there are so many things that are ongoing in the world where other HRICs have put out statements and we haven't. So it doesn't have to be a specific incident that happens in the news over the election. There are many things that are happening in the world that are affecting people in our community right now who are probably not feeling safe. And there hasn't been a show of, hey, we're here to support you. We understand what you're going through. So I think that's something that we need to be really intentional about and think about the purpose of why we're going to do this and who we're supporting.
It could be anything, basically, if we agreed. I mean, I don't know about anything, but certainly I totally agree with what you're saying. I just used the election thing as something that came up in front on our board, and we weren't able to react, basically, to it. I think that's been our problem for years. Go ahead. Sure.
I recall having a quick conversation about possibly making a statement when the Ducky incident had occurred. And it was like a 3-liner, just, whatever we all agreed upon. I will say that being intentional in terms of discussing what we want to respond to is important. I do agree with that. Secondly, I do feel that there might be some, at least in the beginning, some merit to coming together on it, because words are very powerful, and one wrong word could really throw somebody the wrong way. So I think that initially that might be something that we should do together. And I will say, I don't recall, I want to say, when the George Floyd incident happened, I recall that there was a statement put out. Maybe when the crosswalk incident happened, I think we might have stated something. But it's infrequent that we made statements in the past, so that would be a change. So it's just something to name. But yeah, definitely coming together, I think, would be important initially.
Yeah, I know we did this a few years ago, and what puzzled me, didn't puzzle me, I think it was troubling because we just couldn't get going. By the time we got the committee to okay anything, it was, whether it was in Danvers or in San Francisco, it was long gone, you know, and so I'm looking for something that can respond quickly. I don't, in any way, don't want to keep anyone away from having an opinion, but if we need 3 paragraphs, we shouldn't have to be going through a doctoral dissertation to get those 3 paragraphs. It should be easy. So think about it, all right? Think about it, because I'm going to bring it up again on the agenda, and I'd like to see Isaiah take part in some of this, because although I know that Shilpa's right about what we can and can't do, just a second. Okay. I told you people he was enthusiastic. All right, now, but maybe we should approach those in town to find out, and I don't know this, maybe you know, what can we do? And how can we? So that's one thing I would like to do. What does the town allow us to do so that we can move quickly? Go ahead. First, Isaiah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just my mind, just like thinking of loopholes here. The Friends of the HRIC, I mean, that's not our account, that's the Friends of the HRIC Instagram page.
Oh,
They
Friends
just
of-
happen to
Friends
be
of Diversity.
promoting us. Or, sorry,
Friends of Danvers Diversity.
Danvers Equity and Inclusion Collaborative
that what
is the
it is?
name of the
Sorry,
page,
sorry.
yeah.
but
Unaffiliated with us, I don't think, but same message and same mission.
valid. I think they would have a really strong social media presence if they started up. Oh,
Hold on a second. Are you through?
Yep.
Yes, you all set? Yes. Johan, please.
I wanted to mention that I believe that when the statement was made for George Floyd, I believe that it was put out through the select board on some sort of page. I know that it was on a page. I can't recall which page it was on.
Probably was on the Danvers.
The regular Danvers
town-
page.
Town
Town
webpage.
page, there's
Yeah.
an official, Facebook town
Yeah.
official page.
So there was, it was somehow put out on a page. I'll probably have to do some research on that. But.
Anyone else?
I think it's something we need to do, like you said. We can't be waiting for a month to get the committee together. Very often, something like this would be the officers, so probably, just as a first suggestion, the chairman and the 2 vice chairs, and maybe Isaiah, because he's got the energy, and I think he knows the social media better than this old dinosaur, at least, anyway. But, you know, we've got to get our messages out quicker and to the point. So I think it's important we do something like this, yes.
Okay. Anybody else? That about does it. Any new business? People feel free. David?
Mr. Chairman, I want to question your philosophy or ruling that nobody from the audience can interact other than during that first session. We're asking for people to come and participate, come to our meetings, but if we're going to tell them they can't interact with us, I'm not sure that's going to invite a lot of people to come.
I was just trying to work with what I thought was the precedent that I've seen with the select board.
They have the thing for bringing up new business.
Right.
And then there's public hearings where anybody's allowed to speak,
Right. So,
under condition, of course.
but there is a point where they stop. Same with the
If
school
it's
committee.
a public hearing as opposed to a public hearing, well, I can't remember the terminology now, but there's some meetings that you have to take input from the public, and some you don't. Some is just a discussion among the board. But I think if we want to invite the public to come down and join us, I think we ought to allow them to at least ask questions, maybe offer input or suggestion. I know Bill had his hand up at one point with a question on that. It was about the radios, I think. But I don't think we ought to just close discussion totally.
Okay.
My personal opinion.
I will take your opinion under advisement, and I will check it out.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll get back to you.
All right,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. All right, anyone else? I have something to say. I want to, it's a little late, but I want to recognize Jasmine Ramon, who left. She got a better position, quite frankly. And I talked with her at length right before she left, and it was a great conversation. And I will say to you, in my time here on this committee, there was no one that affected this committee in a positive way more than Jasmine did in a very short period of time. I've heard people say, well, she did this, and yeah, well, no, you want to know something? You have to rustle the leaves or shake up the trees. As the great congressman said, make good trouble. You know who I'm talking about. John Lewis down, yes. And there were times when I was not in the chair most of the time, and I'd look and I'd say, well, she's really going after us a little bit to get going, to do some things. And don't just sit there on her hands. And I admire that in her, quite frankly. And I will say, and I'm not going to go on and on, but I miss her a great deal, more now than I was when I was a vice chair or when I was just a member. But she helped me a great deal just in the last 6 or 7 months trying to get all these cats herded together, all right? So, try to get things organized. How do you set up an agenda? How do you, we still haven't, I don't think, did everyone receive the notes, the minutes, and the agenda? I'm hoping to, because I think we've got some issues, some not getting it, but if you're not getting the information you want, just get back to me, because I have some help in town hall that I can rely on. But back to Jasmine. I can't tell you how much I learned from her and how much I found out I didn't know, seriously. And then she forced me to look at things. And I would have the opportunity to just to say, okay, look, we know this is off the record, but I don't even understand what we're talking about here. Would you please just enlighten me? And she did. She did. And she made me look at things just a little bit different, because I might have had my own perceived ideas on how things should be. So I'm going to miss her, and I'm publicly going to thank her for what she did for this town and the support that she gave us over the 2.5, almost 3 years that she was here. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Danvers. Good night.